Hello once again everyone, Xaptrosity here, welcome back to the Redstone Guide. Now today we are going to look at data tags. Yep, these are pretty important in commands and I think this is the part that a lot of people don't understand. Mainly because it is pretty big, a very big part of Minecraft data tags. And NBT data is stored in a lot of stuff, like the Stein, for example. There's some data behind that. There's some hidden values that you don't really see. So that is what we're going to go into today. I don't think I can cover everything though, because it is quite a large topic, but we'll see how we do, and let's get right to it. Right, so the most common place you use data tags in commands is usually the give, summon, and set block commands. So these are the three commands that use set data values the most. There are some other commands there too that are kind of similar, like the fill command and all of that. And there are some other ones that do use data tags, but these are some of the common ones. And using data tags, at the end of your command, you have these little swirly brackets. So, for example, we have a command right here, which is to give me an apple, one apple with a data value of 0. That's something else. Data values is something else for items, whereas items and blocks, whereas the data tags are some other stuff. So we just have an apple here. There we are. For example, wool. There's different data tags there, data values there. So if we change this wool, and we gave one piece of wool to us like that, that would give us white wool. Change this to 1, and then we'll get orange wool, and so on and so forth. Now for data tags, we add this little bit extra here. So I'll show you guys what this does. Push the button, and we'll get an apple, and it has test instead of apple written on it. As you can see here, if we get a regular apple, we can see that the apple has the name apple and this one has the name test. So there is something very different about this. This gives us the name like you do with the name tag. And how we do this is we have swirly brackets, display, name, and our name like so. So we can also do some other fancy stuff, like we've got lore here, and on that we can see there's a little sentence underneath the name of the item, so that is pretty cool. You can do things like that too, and that is pretty awesome. So as you can see here, we've got in swirly brackets, we have everything in here, swirly brackets, then we have display, a colon, and then we have some more swirly brackets with our name named test. And for lore, we have the same thing, but we have a comma just after this, and that goes into the square brackets. Now, square brackets are used if you have multiple data bits. You have extra things you want to write. For example, I could say hello there, and then I could put a comma, and this would break it up to the next line, which would be line 2. Alright? Now, if we try that out, we hover over it, we see the comma actually separated the two lines there to line 2. And we can do another comma, and that would actually give us a third line. So we can test that out, and we get a third line like so. But we use commas to separate pretty much everything. But yeah, we need to use square brackets if some data requires multiple bits of information. Kind of like how you can have multiple lines with the lore command, but with a name you can't really have multiple lines of a name. So that is why we have the swirly brackets, especially for the display part and all of that. Right, so here I've got some more commands, and this one's a little more complicated. What I've done is I've added a new data tag, which is the enchantment one. So keep in mind that if we look here, this swirly bracket is for the display. So we've got everything in the swirly brackets, so we've got one there, and one at the very end. If we take a little look, there it is. And for display, we have a colon, and then we have our swirly brackets. Now we just put a comma after that, and now we've got our next data tag, which is the enchantment. So we have the same thing, except for we have a square bracket here, and that is just to, because as I said before, we use the square brackets if there is some extra information. So our extra information is the enchantment ID and level, so that's two separate things. So we need the enchantment ID and the level, and if we push the button, we can see we get a sharpness 3 sword. So it's pretty much the same as before, but we've got enchantments here, and 16 is for sharpness, 3 is for the level, and that's pretty much all there is to it. Now in this one here, I've added a couple more enchantments, and if we push the button, as you can see, we get a looting 2, sharpness 1, 3, and knockback 1 sword. Not in the correct order, I suppose, but there it is, and that is pretty nice. So all I did was added a comma, then added the next enchantment. So we've got looting, and I think this is knockback and sharpness. Now it is a little bit order sensitive, so if we actually cut that out and paste that at the beginning, whoops, like that. Now we have sharpness at the beginning. We can see we have our sword with sharpness 3 at the beginning, and we've also got sharpness 3 at the end because I forgot to remove that. So I'll do that right now, and there we are. We should get our sharpness 3 at the top instead. And yes, so if you would like to have things in a specific order, you can place them into the right order, I suppose. But yeah, that's pretty cool. Now over here is something I'm not going to go over. It's attributes, and you have to look on the internet for a tutorial on this, but with attributes it can do some very cool things. So I'll get a normal wooden sword, and then I'll give myself one of these special swords, and if we compare them, this one has 4 attack damage and this one has 20. So that's something you can do, which is pretty cool. And with these attribute modifiers, you can also do things like increase speed, increase health, increase knockback resistance, and all sorts of other fun stuff there. But it's a little more complicated, and that's something I do not want to get into. So you have to find a tutorial on that one. But moving on, we're going to go over some awesome summon commands. Right, so before we move on, I should probably say that there is a lot of other stuff you can do. You will have to look it up, but once you get the idea on how to lay it out, then it's pretty straightforward from there. So I'll show you some basic things with summon. So we've got a zombie here that spawns 3 blocks down, so we just first turn our difficulty up, and we can spawn in a zombie. Very cool, very cool. And we can kill that too. So there we are. And over here, I've added a iron sword to him. So now this guy is holding a iron sword. Now how I've done that is if we open this up, we have equipment, and then our little brackets there, ID 267, which is a sword, iron sword. So that is our extra data tag right there. Now moving on, I have some more. Now I've got this guy holding, wearing a iron helmet, and I've done that by adding 306 for our helmet. So why do I have these? So what's going on here? We've got our square brackets because it's a there's a lot of info going on inside. We've got our first thing, which is our iron sword, ID 267. Now the next thing it looks for is for if it wants shoes. So we can give it shoes if we want, but we don't want that. So we move on to the next one, which is the leggings, and we don't want to give any leggings, so we just leave it as a blank squirrely brackets there. And then we have our chest plate, which we don't want to give. But then finally we have the helmet, and we want to give this guy a helmet, so we give him a helmet there. So that's how that works. Now over here, I've got this guy with a sharpness sword. I think it's a sharpness sword. I can't remember, but it's enchanted, so that's pretty awesome. And the way I do that is we have our ID here, 267 for the sword, remember, as we saw before, but instead of closing it off with a swirly bracket there, we add a little comma and we add the tag, and then we do our normal enchantment ID like so. So we have that, and we have our enchantment, 17, and level 1. I think that might be smite, I'm not too sure, could be sharpness too, I'm not entirely sure. Then we have our little empty swirly brackets because we do not want a chest plate, leggings, boots, all of that. Then we have our helmet, so that's pretty awesome. And we can pretty much enchant it in the exact same way too. So that's pretty awesome. Now here, I've got this zombie with some regen. So how I have done that is another data tag command thing, and this is active effects. So this can give a entity some effects. So for example, we have ID 10, which I'm pretty sure is regeneration. You can look up all of these values and all of that on the wiki. That gives a nice little list there. Then we have an amplifier, which tells us what level it is, so we can have regen 2 or regen 1 if we really want to, but 2's better. And we have a duration, which is 100 there. I think that is in game ticks, I do believe, and so that is now gone. I think 100 might be about 5 seconds, something like that. I'm not too sure. I think there's 20 game ticks, or was it 10? 20 game ticks, I do believe, in a second. But don't quote me on that, I'm probably wrong. So over here we have another command, and this one's interesting. We've got a zombie riding a pig. So all we did here was we summoned the zombie, and then we have a name. Actually, I'll show you that soon, but we have it riding a pig. So riding, colon, then our values here, ID, pig. So that's how that works. And that's pretty awesome. As you can see, we've got riding a pig. And what you can do from there, the pig, we can do riding, and we can make this ride a ID chicken. Alright, and we just close that off with the swirly bracket there, and then if we kill that, then we push this. Hopefully we can see that there's a chicken. So the pig is riding a chicken, and the zombie's riding the pig, which is riding the chicken. Alright, so that's very crazy, I know. And another thing I have is that little bar right there. You see that? That's the name tag. And usually when you name a mob, you get that little pop-up there. And that's pretty much what we've done here. So we've got a custom name, and we've given it the name test. And that can be easily modified. And that's pretty awesome. So what does this one do? This one is everything we've learnt. All in one, pretty much. So we've got our active effects, we've got our equipment, and yes, you can see these get quite long. So we've got our equipment, effects, and then it's riding a pig. So that is everything all in one. So you can see they get pretty long, but once you understand how they work, it's pretty awesome. Now there are a lot more of these little tags out there, so you'll have to check the wiki if there is something specific you want. So there will be links in the description for that. Now here, we have a set block command. So there are things you can do with set block to with data tags. You can use data tags with the command blocks and set block commands. So we push this here, and it places a command block down. So pretty self-explanatory what that does. But if we do this here, we've got a command block data value of 0 replaced. Now the data tag here is command/say hi. So if we push this button, it will actually put in the command for us, the say hi command. So that is pretty awesome. So we can place down a button and it will say hi. So that is pretty cool. It's already there. We don't even need to look into it because we know that it's /say hi in there. So that's pretty awesome. And you can do all sorts of other tags for certain blocks, for other things, and it's pretty cool. Alright, so I think we have come to the end of our command block tutorial. Just to summarize, we've looked at the actual command, then we have the selector, then we have the selector arguments, then we have some of the command arguments, and then we have the data tags, which can go on for quite a bit. So we've got things like display, and we've got lore. Just keep in mind that we've got the swirly brackets and the square brackets. Remember, we use colons to tell us what value we should assign to the variable, and then we have commas just to separate things out. And that is pretty much how the data tags work. Once you get the hang of how to lay them out, usually the wiki also tells you how to lay them out too, so you can just follow the instructions there. But that's about it for command blocks, I suppose. If there are any new features added, I may make another episode, or if you guys have any other questions, feel free to tell me. And until then, thank you for watching the Redstone Guide. I'll see you guys sometime soon, I hope. Bye!